Most gardeners are told the same lie from the start, that rich soil must be bought, hauled, framed, and endlessly worked, that if the ground beneath your feet is hard, grassy, or exhausted, you're already behind. But there's a quiet, almost ridiculous material that flips that belief on its head: cardboard. The same stuff people throw away every single day can be used to create massive, deep, fertile soil beds from nothing, without digging, without lumber, and without spending a dime. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at garden beds the same way again. Cardboard works not because it's modern, but because it accidentally mirrors ancient soil building logic. Long before raised beds, tractors, or bagged compost, land builders layered organic barriers to block regrowth, hold moisture, and give biology time to transform surface material into depth. Bark, woven fibers, thatch, flattened plant matter all serve the same role. Cardboard just happens to be today's most uniform, abundant version of that idea. Unlike plastic, cardboard breathes. Unlike landscape fabric, it decomposes instead of shredding into permanent fragments. Unlike wood frames, it doesn't require cutting, leveling, anchoring, or straight lines. It rests directly on the land and lets natural processes do the heavy lifting. It suppresses weeds long enough to establish dominance, then quietly becomes soil itself. This balance is the secret. Cardboard lasts just long enough to win the battle against existing vegetation, but not so long that it blocks roots, water, fungi, or worms. That timing is what allows soil depth to be created where none existed before. You know, one of the biggest mental hurdles for gardeners is believing they must fix the ground before building on it. But with cardboard beds, honestly, the opposite is true. Grass, weeds, compacted soil, even those ugly, neglected areas, they're all left exactly as they are. Digging is not just unnecessary, it's actually counterproductive. The only thing the ground really needs before cardboard goes down is moisture. A thorough watering wakes up soil life and, well, softens plant material. This matters because decomposition is a biological process, not a mechanical one. When microbes and fungi are active, everything that follows accelerates. Once the ground is wet, cardboard is laid directly on top. No gaps, no shortcuts. Overlap every seam generously, at least the width of your hand. Single sheets almost always fail because light finds its way through cracks. Overlapping layers create a continuous dark barrier that shuts weeds down completely. Cardboard doesn't work dry. Water activates the fibers, allowing the sheets to mold tightly to the contours of the soil beneath. This eliminates air pockets and light leaks while anchoring the material in place. As it wets, cardboard becomes flexible, heavy, and far more effective. Thickness matters because decomposition is not instant. Multiple layers slow breakdown just enough to maintain weed suppression for an entire growing season. By the time the cardboard weakens, the soil above it has already claimed the space. This is why plain brown cardboard performs best. No glossy coatings, no wax, no plastic film. Tape and labels should be removed when possible, but minor ink markings are not a concern. Soil biology has handled far worse substances for thousands of years. The key is avoiding materials designed not to break down. Once the cardboard barrier is in place, the real building begins. Organic matter is layered directly on top. Compost, aged manure, leaves, straw, garden waste, food scraps, anything biodegradable becomes part of the system. This is not about neatness or perfect ratios, it's about volume. Depth is what transforms land. A thin layer dries out and collapses into nothing. A deep layer creates mass, insulation, and moisture retention. Over time, that mass shrinks, settles, and turns into soil. Within a single season, what was once unusable ground becomes plantable. After 2 seasons, the distinction between native soil and added material all but disappears. This is soil creation, not soil improvement. You are not amending what exists. You are building a new horizon on top of it. One of the least talked about benefits of cardboard beds is water control. Cardboard traps moisture beneath it, dramatically reducing evaporation. This creates a consistently humid zone where microbes thrive and fungi spread rapidly. Fungal networks are the bridge between surface material and the soil below. They colonize the underside of the cardboard, weaving nutrients and moisture upward and downward at the same time. This mimics forest floor dynamics, where leaf litter protects soil, feeds organisms, and builds depth without disturbance. Because, moisture stays put, watering needs drop sharply once beds are established. Plants experience fewer stress cycles, roots grow deeper, and yields become more consistent even during those dry periods. A common concern is that cardboard blocks roots, but in practice this simply doesn't happen. As cardboard softens, roots penetrate it easily, often within just a few weeks. By the time crops are established, the barrier has weakened enough to allow full access to the soil below, while still suppressing competing plants. This allows immediate planting. Transplants can be placed into holes cut directly through the cardboard, while direct-seeded crops can be planted into the top layer once enough soil depth exists. The system doesn't force you to wait, it adapts as plants grow. Tilling feels productive, but it destroys the very structure soil depends on. Fungal networks are torn apart, moisture escapes, carbon oxidizes. Cardboard bed building avoids all of this by keeping soil intact. Earthworms migrate upward, pulling organic matter down. Microbial populations explode in the stable environment. Aggregates form naturally. Instead of collapsing each season, the soil actually improves with time. After a couple of seasons, what remains is a unified, deep, biologically active bed that behaves just like mature soil. It drains well, holds moisture, resists compaction, and, feeds plants continuously. Because, cardboard is free and organic material is often local, this method really has no real upper limit. Beds can just expand as material becomes available. Entire plots, they can be converted gradually without any capital investment. This actually mirrors how land was historically improved. Fields didn't just appear fully formed. They grew year by year as resources accumulated. Cardboard beds follow the same logic, favoring patience and process over construction. They may look crude at first, no sharp edges, no symmetry, but productivity has never depended on appearance. Once established, these beds outperform many framed systems while demanding far less maintenance. The real power of cardboard isn't the material itself. It's what it allows. It removes resistance from existing vegetation and, honestly, gives decomposition and biology the time they need to work. Instead of fighting nature with machines and purchases, you align with it using what's already at hand. That's exactly why this method lasts, and that's why it scales. And that's why it quietly builds soil where, people swear it can't be done. If this kind of practical, no-nonsense, historically grounded gardening speaks to how you want to grow food, make sure you're subscribed to Farm Basic. Share this with someone who thinks good soil has to be bought. And remember, abundance often starts with what everyone else throws away.